Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I want to talk about the oil and gas sector again. Oil is bouncing up after a sharp sell-off, so I want to get into their charts and tell you what I think could be happening next and what my plan is. And then after that, I'm going to get into some of your questions. Now, if you're new to my channel, I have been trading and investing for over 20 years, and in each video I will show you trades that I see setting up right now. So if that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing so you don't miss any future trading and investing ideas. And also, if you would like to support the channel and become part of our Patreon community and see what we are buying and selling in real time for a measly $10 a month, that link is in the description. All right, well, before we get into the stock charts, I want to go over this chart right here. And this one came from Yardeni.com, Yardeni Research, and it was updated yesterday, so all the data is still pretty fresh. If you're not familiar with that website, they got a lot of great information on the economy and the market. So if you want to get a little bit of a feel of what could be going on underneath the surface before it becomes obvious to everybody else, that's a pretty decent website. I go on it at least once a week or so. But this chart right here is showing the top sectors performances, actually all the sectors performances in the S&P 500 year to date. And we can see this blue line right here, and this blue line is energy, and they have been the best performing sector so far. We can see that they were separating themselves just a couple of months ago, but they have since come back down to earth a little bit. And that happened also back in February, and it didn't take long for the performance to come back down a little bit and some of the other sectors to catch up. Even though it's came all the way down to these other sectors, the momentum is definitely still down, and I think there is some more downside left in this sector. And I'm going to get to that in the charts, but I do think that this sector is certainly going to outperform in the second half of the year because I expect inflation to kind of stick around at least for a while. So I'm going to use this pullback as an opportunity to add some more energy. But let's get into the charts and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so let's get into these charts. But as always, if you don't mind liking the smash button for me and helping me out with the YouTube algorithm for putting all this together for you guys, I would greatly appreciate it. But please, make all of your own trading decisions. All of this is just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, etc., etc., etc. I'm just trying to show you the best looking charts I see in the markets right now. But first, I'm going to start with the USO, which is the oil ETF, and this is the daily chart. A couple of videos ago, 3 or 4, give or take, I can't remember how many videos ago, I was talking about how I expected oil to come into this support area. I thought it was certainly going to roll over, and the reason why I thought that was because of this MACD negative divergence that was going on. You had higher highs, but if you look at the MACD, let's see if I can put it on here, you had lower highs. Sometimes it wants to work, sometimes it don't, but you get the point. We got lower highs going on right here that almost always leads to a move down, and that's exactly what we got. But man, it sure came down fast. I added just a little bit when it came down to this. I didn't buy USO, but I bought some oil stocks. I added just a little bit, but not enough. It was coming down so fast, I thought maybe it was going to cut through that like a warm knife through butter, but it didn't. It found support at that area and is bouncing so far. But the oil stocks themselves are not performing as well as the USO, and I'll get into that in a minute. But another one I wanted to show you before I get into those oil stocks that I talked about, well, I want to look at the natural gas ETF, which is the UNG. If I back this thing out, you can see this thing has been mired in a very long rounded bottom formation, and it looks like it is breaking out to the upside. Even though oil was pulling back, you can see UNG is actually making a new high, but UNG has lagged oil. So, I mean, oil's got a head start on it, so UNG, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if UNG outperforms oil going into the second part of the year, especially because of the seasonality of natural gas into the winter months. So I think UNG or nat gas might be a better trade than oil right now. UNG has a long way to go to catch up, and oil is already taken off, so oil needs a breather anyway. But just the way these two are looking, it definitely looks like UNG is probably going to be the stronger one. And another one for natural gas is the GAZ. You can see the same picture with GAZ, nice long rounded bottom, and it looks like it could just be getting started. So I wouldn't be surprised to see natural gas outperform oil in the second half of the year. But let's get into some of those oil stocks. I talked about Exxon Mobil. And I was thinking that ExxonMobil had a chance to come down to this 200 period simple moving average. This is when I was going to get more excited about ExxonMobil, and I still might get a chance, but we can see it came down to that first support area and bounced just perfectly, but it's bouncing into the 8 period exponential moving average. So we'll see if it rolls over. Just the way this chart is looking, it's looking like it's definitely going to at least retest this area. It might not make a new bottom just because this move down has kind of been accelerated, so it could be one of those, quick bottoms, but judging by the way the chart is looking, I'm betting we're probably going to get at least a retest. But if it gets down to this 200 period simple moving average, I'm going to be very interested in getting some ExxonMobil. Another one that I talked about in that last video was Chevron CVX. You can see CVX came down to that support area just perfectly, hit that 200 period simple moving average, is bouncing up and is looking just like ExxonMobil. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Chevron rolls over as well. But man, the way these charts are looking, I should have bought some short-term options on these. Those probably would have paid off pretty decently this week. But hey, it was coming down so fast. I thought maybe it was going to keep going. I was wrong. I probably should have went with my gut and just bought a little bit more once they got down to these support areas. But nevertheless, these charts are looking like we're going to get a little bit more of a rollover. So I'm going to try to be patient and wait for another potential rollover. If this thing gets a move up into, the lower 100s and starts to go sideways, then chances are this is a bottom. But this could be just the zigzag where it kind of makes a new low soon. But Chevron looking pretty good. Next one I want to go to is PXD. I talked about PXD in my last video. This one also came to that 200 period simple moving average and that support level. See how nice these things usually get bounces when you have a major support level coinciding with a major moving average. So these are great areas to make those swing trades or to start positions or add to positions. But PXD, I would say, certainly looks like it's probably going to have a little bit more rollover to the downside. It was making one of these rising wedges as well. Those are bearish patterns. They usually end up resolving to the downside. So PXD is looking like it could roll over again. Next one I want to go with is FANG. Oops, let me see if I can type here. There we go. You can see FANG is making right around the same exact pattern. Nice bounce up in that 8 period exponential moving average. It's finding resistance, so I would think this is probably going to roll over as well. There's no guarantee these are going to roll over, but if they do, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if FANG actually makes a new low. But if we get a move up and then a move sideways, chances are this is going to be the low. So that's what you need to look for in these. And actually, let's go to XEC. XEC is doing the same thing. Hasn't quite made it down to that 200 period simple moving average yet, but that's a pretty decent support area if it does make it down to that level. I do think that if these things roll over again, that might be our last chance to get into these before they make a decent run into the second half of the year. That's, of course, if inflation continues to, stay where it's at or move higher. I personally think it's going to, but that's just my opinion. That's why I'm looking into these stocks. But I think XEC is going to offer a pretty decent buying opportunity if it rolls over. Next one is LPI. LPI is rolling over really hard. Joe from the Patreon made some pretty good money on this one. I think he more than doubled his money. He was pounding the table on the oil stocks for many months, and I just didn't look into them as much as he did. He was a little obsessed with them for a while, but hey, he got all that information, all that education on them, and he made a good decision. He made some good money on these oil stocks. So if you put in the work, you get rewarded. And I should have looked into the oil stocks more than I did. I was just kind of liking these patterns as a bottom. I didn't really think that stocks were going to go from 10 all the way up to 90 in just a few months, or I would have loaded the boat and studied the oil sector just a little bit more. But oh well, live and learn. But the next one I want to show you is WTI. This is one I actually do hold. This one is pulling back all the way down to that trend line that I drew. I was thinking about adding some more to this one when it pulled down to this trend line, but I did not add any to this position. Next one I want to tell you is another one that I also own, and that's Southwestern Energy. Southwestern Energy made that beautiful rounded bottom and is heading up, but is pulling back right now, and it is right at this trend line pretty much. So If it can find some support at this trend line, it might end up cranking higher, but I'm expecting this one to probably pull back down to this 200 period simple moving average and this support area. And if it does, I think that's going to be a great place to potentially add to this position. But man, that's what I'm thinking in these oil stocks right now. I think we're going to get another chance for a decent entry point on some of these, and I do think inflation is probably at least going to remain the same, if not push higher, and energy should do well if that happens. So I'll definitely be watching these for an entry point to grab some more of these when they get down a little bit lower. All right, well, I'm going to get into the question of the day, and this was actually asked by several people. They were asking about XL Fleet Corporation, ticker symbol XL, and at first glance, I didn't think there was a whole lot cooking with this chart, and it's mostly because it was below these moving averages, but when I zoomed in, I can see it's got a nice little rounded bottom formation in the works. You can see it's got this several day consolidation with this false little breakdown. I don't even have to go intraday to see this one, to see how nice it's looking. Unfortunately, it is below that 50 period simple moving average, and I don't like to take too many of these trades when they are below it. I like to have the trend as my friend, so obviously if it's below these major moving averages, then it makes it more difficult because those are obstacles that are above it. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just means, it's just more obstacles in the way. But if enough volume comes in, it could easily blast through it just like it did right here. But actually, let's go to the 15-minute chart real quick and take a closer look at it. Back it out a little bit here, and you can see how beautiful that rounded bottom formation is. Got that nice false breakdown, and it has already broken above this recent resistance area. So now it is support and holding above it. Right now in the market, these patterns are failing quite a bit. The market kind of goes through cycles where these patterns work perfectly, and then, a lot of them break down. Right now, we're in one of those market environments where these are breaking down. They're not breaking out as often as I would like to see. And in this kind of market environment, I like to just play those day trades on the stocks that have, a few big up days in a row, and then they come down to the 8-period exponential moving average. They're usually, smaller gaining plays, but they're safer in this environment. And that's, when this pattern's working, I like to use it like crazy. And when it's not, I have to transition to something else that works a little bit better in a different environment, or I just end up giving those gains back that I had when this pattern was working. That being said, I don't know. I mean, I really like this one. It's going to be really tempting to not want to buy this stock if it can hold above 705 or so till the end of the day, because this is a beautiful pattern. And if I don't end up buying it and this thing just explodes over 750 tomorrow, I'm going to be kicking myself, because it is just a beautiful pattern. And this one was just handed to me on a silver platter by a couple of questions. Sometimes I wonder if that's a divine power, showing me this trade, saying, hey, you gonna take this? We'll just give it to you. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about this one just because these things aren't working as well. But I mean, if you back this chart out, actually, let me go to the hourly chart. You can see how well these things work in the past. Got a nice little rounded bottom starting here, and you had some follow through for a couple of days. You never know how high they're going to go. Sometimes they make a new high. Sometimes they only go up for a few days, but that still can be a pretty nice profit. If this thing makes it up to right around $7.75 or $8, that's over a 10% move from here. So that's a nice little profit. I'll take it. And if you back out the chart a little bit, you can see a nice little rounded bottom here. They had some follow through, consolidated, made another rounded bottom, and they had some more follow through to the upside. So you never know how far these things are going to go up. But these patterns right here, they're usually pretty nice bottoming patterns. It shows you that the selling is starting to subside, and the buying power is probably going to be in control after that. So this one is below those major moving averages, which is a red flag, and also this pattern is not working so great right now, so that's another red flag. But because I'm saying that, probably tomorrow this thing's probably going to explode over 8, just because it is such a nice looking pattern. But I don't know if I'm going to end up buying it. Hopefully I answered your question. I do love this pattern. Maybe I get in, maybe I won't. If you're already in the stock, hopefully this thing does explode for you. You definitely don't want to be selling it. If you've been holding this for a long time and it's making one of these, you definitely don't want to be selling at the point where it could be turning around. You want to give it a little bit of leeway, so maybe you can, get some of your money back, or, you know, just enjoy that price appreciation that it's going to have. But definitely a beautiful pattern in XL Fleet right now. Okay, everyone, that is all I have for this video, so I'm going to end it right there. But if you have any questions or comments on any of these stocks, or if you have any other ones you want me to take a look at, please leave it down there in the comments section. I will get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end, and until next time, take care, everybody.